Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wild Sports Talk alongside the Asian Skip Bayless, Isaiah Leong, and James Gonzalez. I'm Lauro Antonio. Welcome aboard to a brand new episode of Wild Sports Talk. We got a lot of NFL news to talk about, and we are going to be reacting to Matt Ryan going to the Indianapolis Colts and how does it shake up the AFC South with that acquisition for the Colts, and if the Colts are ready to be competing for a Super Bowl with Matt Ryan, and see if they just close the gap on Jacksonville and Tennessee, even though that the Houston Texans are now dead last in the AFC South. And also talking about some more NBA news about the Lakers beating the Cavs and LeBron's homecoming. And then for baseball, we are going to rank our top 5 starting pitchers. You don't want to mess up with that. So anyways, folks, let's get to our first topic of the night. I hope everyone's doing great. And as you all know today, a great start to spring, as today is the first day of spring. And the Colts today, on the first day of spring, made a splash of a move to get Matt Ryan from the Atlanta Falcons on Monday morning in exchange for a third-round pick. My reaction to this trade is, I think that the Colts have finally solved their quarterback issues when it comes to them them having a quarterback in the long run. I think Matt Ryan kind of gives them stability in that position, even though he's 36. But I do think that, however, the Colts will eventually get a long-term answer quarterback in future drafts, which I'm very confident in. I think that Matt Ryan has a great defense for him to be to work with. And I think he's got a great offense to work with Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman. I just think that you just got to get another receiver and another tight end. I like Mo Alley-Cox, and he's also behind a really good offensive line for the Colts. So, Isaiah, what was your reaction to the Matt Ryan trade, and how does that move affect the AFC South when it comes to Tennessee, the Jags, and the Texans?
Well, my first reaction when I woke up this morning and saw the news that Matt Ryan was now an Indianapolis Colt, my reaction was like, boom! That was my reaction. I was completely mind blown over the fact that the Colts got Matt Ryan. I totally didn't expect it. I was on my phone this morning. I quickly woke up, checked my phone because, the last several days I've been, just waking up, and then all of a sudden I go check my phone to see if my Oakland A's made any trades, and just would leave me heartbroken. But instead I saw breaking news, Matt Ryan to the Colts, and I was like, are you serious? Are you serious that Matt Ryan got traded to the Colts? Like, wow, man. Wow. And that was pretty much my reaction to the news. And I think it was also a lot of people's reaction to the news when they saw that. It was like, wow, man, Matt Ryan, like, he's a long time legend quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons. It would be so weird to see him playing in a different uniform next season, and for him to go to the Colts, a team that was just missing the quarterback. It was just wow. And for the Colts, Chris Ballard and the Colts pulled off Matthew Stafford to the Rams 2.0 today. This was a Rams Stafford-like move from last year. The Indianapolis Colts, like you mentioned, Laurel, they have a stacked team. They've got the running game with Jonathan Taylor, one of the best running backs in the NFL. And then they have a stout offensive line. Their wide receiving corps is loaded. You have Pittman, you have Campbell there. You have possibly bringing back T.Y. Hilton, which will help big time. Then the tight end. They have a young tight end in Mo Alley-Cox who is emerging into a stud. And you have him, and not to mention the defense is pretty good as well. With DeForest Buckner and Darius Leonard leading that defense. So Matt Ryan is walking into an extremely stacked team there in Indianapolis. Chris Ballard, let me applaud him right now because that dude has guts. That dude has something that most general managers in the NFL don't have, and that is the guts to go bold. And this is why I really wish that a lot more general managers and president of football operations guys in the NFL did more of this. And that is swing big. Who cares if you swing and miss? Like they always say in baseball, never go down swing, or they say go down swinging. That's what the term is. Go down swinging. And that's what Chris Ballard is. He just swings. He swings for the fences. And that's what I like about Chris Ballard. Sometimes you're going to land a home run. Sometimes you're going to strike out, but at least you go for it. And that's why I love Chris Ballard so much, his aggressiveness as a general manager. And now he got his guy. He got the guy that is going to end that quarterback carousel there in Indianapolis. And the guy that is going to be the final piece of the puzzle for the Indianapolis Colts. I love this trade so much for Matt Ryan. I love this trade so much for the Colts. And I love this trade so much for Frank Reich, because now his offensive acumen is going to be on full display for everybody with a top-notch quarterback in Matt Ryan. And also for Matt Ryan, he's getting out of Atlanta. He's going to get out of losing and have a chance to win a Super Bowl now for the next 3 to 4 years. And as far as how does this shake up the AFC South, you guys all know I picked the Jags to win the AFC South. And I went in with that pick because I thought, okay, Indianapolis, their quarterback is going to be Carson Wentz or Sam Ehlinger. Houston's going to be Davis Mills. Tennessee is Ryan Tannehill. I've never believed in Ryan Tannehill. Trevor Lawrence is far and above the best quarterback in that division. And that's what I thought of before this move. And I'll say this. The Colts getting Matt Ryan closed the gap in the AFC South. I still think it's going to be, for me, I'm sticking with my pick. I'm not going to just say something and then back off of it, like a couple weeks later. I'm sticking with my pick. I think Jacksonville will still win the division, but I think the Colts have definitely closed the gap because they got the quarterback now, plus their supporting pieces are great. Tennessee, Indy, and Jags will battle it out for that division, but it's now become a much closer race than I anticipated.
For me, it is. Like, I'm going to still stick with Jacksonville, Isaiah, but I'm right now kind of torn because I love Mike Vrabel and what the Titans are doing. I love Derrick Henry. I think you have him for a full healthy season. I think Tennessee's in a good spot. The Colts just got stronger with Matt Ryan, and the Jags. I love Doug Peterson. I love I'm excited what he's going to bring to the table there. But I just think that it's going to come down to 3 teams between Indy, Tennessee, and Jacksonville. That's what I think, and then Houston's just looking up to those teams now. But I do think that the AFC South is going to be an exciting division. It's not strong as other divisions is what you could think, but I do think that it's going to be a decent division though, but it's still a wide open division though. James, what was your thoughts on Matt Ryan going to the Colts, and how does it shake up the AFC South?
Well, first of all, this is really bad for the Falcons to only get a 3rd-round pick in this draft for your franchise quarterback. Probably, the best quarterback you've ever had on the Falcons. Probably Michael Vick's probably second on that list, and then a host of others, Burkowski, Chandler. Anyway, to only get that for your franchise quarterback and for a salary debt cap hit of $40 million, that's really bad for the Falcons. They got fleeced on this deal. It feels like robbery, but I'm happy, like Isaiah mentioned, for Matt Ryan to get out of Atlanta. I know he tried his darndest to do whatever he could in those 14 seasons there with the Falcons, but we all remember the one problem, and losing in that Super Bowl against the Patriots, that was awful. And they never recovered from that. I mean, sure, they went to some playoffs, but you don't recover from that unless you're strong-willed, unless everybody's committed. It just wasn't the case. So the pressure is really on for Matt Ryan now to go to the Colts here, to go to a new conference, a new division here. But I'm really excited for him. I'm excited that he has the offensive line now. He can go back behind and make some things happen. He can always air it out. You always see him on the fantasy stats, and he's always near the top. And I love that fact that he could do that anywhere. So I'm really excited for the receivers that are going to be with him. I know the Colts just got rid of Pascal, but they also have Pittman, Hilton, the tight end there, Alice Cox. But I'm hoping they add some other receivers, and they're going to do that through the draft, I suppose. The defense is really good there with the Colts. They just made a trade for Nagawe. So I'm very happy for Matt Ryan. And depending on what the Titans do, I know they got Robert Woods. They brought back some defense, but they just need to play better when it comes down to late game situations in Tennessee. This, for me, I got to see the draft and all that, but it puts the Colts over the Titans in the AFC South for me. But it's going to be a neck and neck division like always, though. And it's going to be more exciting now with Matt Ryan. So I can't wait for that. I can't wait for the Colts season to start. This puts them in the wild card race, definitely, and in the South race like it was last year. The important position, of course, is quarterback, and they just got much better going from Wentz to Ryan. And, I feel stupid because there's so many other quarterbacks named to go to Indy, and none of them really were Matt Ryan. Everybody thought, he's just going to end his career in Atlanta and not have another chance. I always thought he should have gone to Pittsburgh or New England and try to have one more chance at a ring or at least a playoff appearance. So I'm wrong again on the quarterback carousel, but I am definitely happy for Matt Ryan today.
Yeah, I think that he's going to be great in Indy, and then we're going to talk about what's next for the Atlanta Falcons later on this program here. And one of the questions that Matt Ryan's going to be facing now that he's taken over as the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts is how much pressure is now on Matt Ryan's shoulders to win a Super Bowl that he has a stacked team to work with. I think he's pressured to win a Super Bowl now than later. I think that, if you look at the Rams and with Stafford winning a Super Bowl, Matt Ryan is in a similar position to when Matthew Stafford joined the Rams last season. I mean, the Colts have given away a lot of first-round picks to Philly, and I also think that the Colts, with the roster that they have no excuses to not win the AFC South. It's got to be the Colts, in my opinion, even though I'm torn between Tennessee and Jacksonville, because as much as I like Trevor Lawrence and all that, I just think that since Matt Ryan came to the Colts, it's got to be the Colts that wins the AFC South. I do expect Tennessee and Jacksonville to have winning records, but the Colts need to win now. Like, Isaiah, do you think that Matt Ryan is pressured to win now, based on what I was saying?
Of course, 1,000%. Matt Ryan has no more excuses now not to win a Super Bowl for the Indianapolis Colts. He has to at least get to a Super Bowl for this to be considered a success for Matt Ryan and for the Indianapolis Colts. Everything is now on the line in terms of Matt Ryan's legacy the next 2 to 3 seasons in Indianapolis. Matt Ryan Matt Ryan's got 2-3 years to win a Super Bowl with the Indianapolis Colts, because you're in a position like Matthew Stafford now where you have a great coach in Frank Reich, who's just a genius offensive play caller and a play designer and a schemer. You have, one of the best running backs in the NFL in Jonathan Taylor. You have wide receivers. You got Michael Pittman, who's turning into a stud last season. You might bring back T.Y. Hilton. I think that would be good. The defense is loaded, with Yannick Ngakoue and also DeForest Buckner leading that team, and also Darius Leonard. Matt Ryan has no excuses whatsoever to not deliver another Super Bowl championship to the Indianapolis Colts. If he can't get it done in the next 2-3 seasons, this will be a total failure for the Indianapolis Colts and also for Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's legacy will take a massive hit if he doesn't deliver a Super Bowl to the Colts in the next 2-3 years.
You're definitely right about that. And I do think that the Colts, they have a great team, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they could do this season. James, I'm going to go to you on this. How much pressure is now on Matt Ryan's shoulders to win a Super Bowl now that he has a stacked team to work with in Indianapolis?
Well, one Matthew won a Super Bowl. I would love to see this Matthew win a Super Bowl, and I'm going to be real happy if that happens. Matty Ice, of course, one-time MVP, 4-time Pro Bowler, one-time All-Pro quarterback. That's pretty tough when you got all these great quarterbacks. He's durable. The pressure is definitely going to be on, not only in the division with Tennessee, but all of the AFC, all the stacked quarterbacks in the conference. It's going to be very tough. I don't see them winning a Super Bowl because you got the Chiefs, you got the Bengals, you got the whole AFC West. You got maybe the Ravens making a move, but and then some other teams in the AFC. So it's going to be very tough. He's 36 years old. Time is running out. You hope that he's able to go out on top, but the pressure is on not only in the division, but in the conference. And that's going to be very tough. They need some things to go their way. They need Jonathan Taylor to be as great as he was the last 2 years. They're going to need another receiver, like I mentioned. Maybe better tight end. But they're going to need a lot of things to go their way in order for them to get to the Super Bowl and even win it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm actually, even though I'm torn, I think Jacksonville's going to be good. I kind of think that with Matt Ryan, now a member of the Indianapolis Colts, I got to pick the Colts to win the AFC South now over Tennessee and Jacksonville just because they're the better team. And I think that if you look at it, their time to win is now. And I think that Indianapolis is due for a home playoff game with Frank Reich. This team has gone through so many different quarterbacks since Andrew Luck retired. And like Isaiah said, Matt Ryan has ended the quarterback carousel for the Indianapolis Colts for the time being. So where do I think the Colts rank in the AFC following their trade for Matt Ryan today? I think the Colts are right now the fourth best team in the AFC. I think they're behind Cincinnati. They're behind Buffalo. They're behind Kansas City. So I just don't think that the Colts are ahead of their caliber. I just think that in my opinion, the Colts are probably going to win this division. Not easily, but it's going to be a very close race. Isaiah, where do you think the Colts will rank following the Matt Ryan trade? I say fourth, in my opinion, in the AFC.
Here's the thing. I don't even have them number one in their own division. And, we can go back and forth on that. I'm sticking with my pick. I'm still going with the Jaguars to win that division. I'm not going to back away from that pick. But in terms of where they rank right now in the AFC, I think you got to look at it this way. I think you definitely got to have the Chiefs up there. The Bengals have to be up there. And then when you look at it, Chiefs and Bengals are probably number one and number two. I think then you probably have to go with, I'm trying to think of the teams, but
are you talking about Buffalo?
Buffalo is another one. Yeah, thank you, Laura. Buffalo is another one that's up there. Probably I'll put them at third. And then I'm going to put Denver up there. I like their team. I like what they have with Sutton, their wide receiving corps, plus their offensive line. Plus they got Russell Wilson, so I got to put them up there as well. The Chargers are definitely going to be up there with their quarterback and that defense. I'm going to go 7th, to be honest. I think right now, because the AFC is just so stacked. I think right now, they're the 7th best team right now in the AFC behind all those teams that I listed. And since John is here and I can, go off a little bit.
No, you won't. I promise.
And the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm putting Jacksonville ahead of them right now.
You need to be drug tested immediately and fired from your job because you have failed a drug test.
John, you surprisingly come on air. I mean, where do you rank the Colts in the AFC following the Matt Ryan trade?
First of all, it's going to be disappointing, just like the Philip Rivers trade. Like, I don't understand. Like, all Matt Ryan is like comparing if you compare Kirk Cousins and Matt Ryan, it's like comparing an iPhone 11 to an iPhone 12. Pretty much the same thing. Very basic. Doesn't do anything revolutionary. Doesn't change the game of sports. Doesn't change the game of smartphones. And you're gonna have the same display result. Matt Ryan, I think, is I mean, you could say the team or not. Pretty much the same thing. But Matt Ryan is gonna have a similar result to what Philip Rivers had with the Colts in 2020. So I don't see how you yet again get an old veteran quarterback who's past his prime. Really, he just stat past like Kirk Cousins, but I don't really see him doing anything. 6th, 7th best team, truly at best. I mean, guarantee. I think this year the Colts running game is going to be a little bit better than Tennessee, just because I don't know if it's just rumors, but I guarantee you, not everybody in Tennessee is confident in Ryan Tannehill as their starting quarterback. Because when the chips are down, he looks worse than Sam. He looks as good as Sam Darnold was with the Carolina Panthers after they started off 3-0. So, no, I don't think the Jaguars are winning. You've got to be absolutely insane and smoking something to think the Jaguars are going to win it, because there's literally no evidence in any way, shape, or form. But I mean, good for the Colts. It's stupid for Atlanta because you're literally paying him to play in his new city, along with you sign another quarterback who I'm not really the biggest fan of, but Colts is going to be the same thing as Philip Rivers. You're not really going to get anywhere. You're not going to win a Super Bowl, but yes, the pressure is there.
And how much pressure is now on Matt Ryan's shoulders to win a Super Bowl, John?
He needs to be pooping Twinkies every game, because the thing is now, if it wasn't for that 2017 Super Bowl, I don't think there would be as much. There would still be a lot of pressure, but not as much pressure. Because the same thing happened, like with Seattle. Why don't you run the football on that play instead of trying to throw it? And it could end up costing you a Super Bowl. Wait, I think it made me think of another team that lost against New England for not running the football. Oh, wait, that was Seattle. And apparently the Falcons didn't learn from that 2 years later. So there's definitely a lot of pressure. I mean, this guy is literally the same thing as Kirk Cousins, stat pads, and I don't think they're going to have much of a difference than like the Colts did with Philip Rivers in 2020.
Let me go to James next on this. Where do you think the Colts rank in the AFC following the Matt Ryan trade?
Same thing as Kirk Cousins, stat pads, and I don't think they're going to have much of a difference.
Like I mentioned, man, the AFC.
Let me go to James next on this. Where do you think the Colts rank in the AFC Matt Ryan trade?
Same thing as Kirk Cousins, stat pads.
Yeah, I got to put them 4 or 5, or 6 even. Depends how those better teams do. So I'm really I'm interested to see what other moves are made through the draft for other teams that have their picks. If not, then I got to put them 4 or 5 right now, just based on paper. The game's played on the field, so it's gonna be fun though.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be the Colts, like you said. And Casey, welcome to the show here for a second night in a row. I mean, we had you yesterday on the night shift, and where do you rank the Colts in the AFC following the Matt Ryan trade, and how much pressure is on Matt Ryan right now? I mean, we had you yesterday on the night shift, and Where do you rank the Colts in the AFC following the Matt Ryan trade, and how much pressure is on Matt Ryan right now?
Well, I think there'll be a lot of pressure.
Yesterday on the night shift, and we're dealing with technical difficulties here. So, anyways, Casey will be on whenever he deals with that. But anyways, let's talk about one team that won the Matt Ryan trade, which was the Colts, and talk about in the aftermath of the Matt Ryan trade, the Falcons signed Marcus Mariota to a 2-year deal to reunite him with Arthur Smith, his former offensive coordinator in Tennessee, and he potentially will be their starting quarterback, but I don't think that necessarily means that. I think that the Falcons now, I think they're going to draft a quarterback. I think that should be Matt Corral, and I think Matt Corral will end up being the starting quarterback for the Falcons over Mariota, even though his contract's not long enough, but I do think that Mariota will be featured in some like gadget plays. I think the Falcons could use him. We'll probably most likely use Mariota in like wildcat plays and kind of like the Taysom Hill kind of playbook that I think that the Falcons will use with Matt Ryan, with Marcus Mariota, because I think that Arthur Smith is a very creative play caller. And I do think that I think that Arthur Smith's going to get it now that Matt Ryan is gone. He's going to get a quarterback of his own. He's going to get his own guy, and I think it's going to be a rookie quarterback. That's what's next for the Falcons at quarterback. Isaiah, what's your thoughts on Mariota being a Falcon? And I think that it doesn't mean that Mariota will be a starter.
My thoughts on it was like, really? You're going to sign him to be your stopgap bridge quarterback? We've seen what he can do. He's not really that good of a passer. His running abilities, unfortunately, is kind of gone now because of that broken leg injury. So there's really nothing that Marcus Mariota can do that well now in the NFL. Yes, I know it's a reunion with him and Arthur Smith, but I think there's better quarterbacks out there that you could have gotten, especially if you're going to try to get a backup caliber quarterback to be your starting quarterback just for this one season. Because let's face it, guys, they're not going to win this year. The Falcons are entering full-blown tank mode. I think they're targeting next season or next draft to get a quarterback because, you got those guys like C.J. Stroud. You have Bryce Young that could be available in the draft. Keaton Slovis, JT Daniels that also could be available as well. So next year's crop is, I think, much, much more stronger than this year's. And if I'm the Falcons, I would smartly just tank and wait until next year because you could get your hands on a Stroud. You could get your hands on a Bryce Young from Alabama, and I think you would be extremely solid. So the Falcons are going into full-blown tank mode. I don't understand right now why you're going to get Mariota. I think you could have signed, a better bridge guy that could help you with your tanking efforts, but this is what it is. The Falcons are tanking.
And what about you, James? What's next for the Falcons at quarterback and your overall reaction to Marcus Mariota being a member of the Atlanta Falcons?
That doesn't matter. The Falcons basically had to pick up the scraps. They were in the running for Deshaun Watson. That didn't work out. There were other quarterbacks out there, but now they're just left with Mariota. And I know they picked number 8 in the draft, and I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I think they should go with a quarterback. They should just try it out with Malik Willis out of Liberty. I really think he'll fit in well in that city. They had someone, Michael Vick, like that before. And, he might not be ready for the spotlight at first, but you have Mariota there this year, and you hope that Willis can just come in the following years and do well for him and create something they've really never had since Vic was a running quarterback. I mean, Matt Ryan ran when he had to, but if Willis is there, if he lasts to the 8th pick, I would consider the Falcons going after him. Also in the draft, building their defense, I think that would be key. Since Ridley will be gone and Julio Jones has been gone, they need to get some playmakers at receiver. I know they have Kyle Pitts, but they also need to address they need a lot, actually. It seems like the Jets now have flown over the Falcons, trying to, on the team rankings chart, it just seems that way. The Falcons, like Isaiah mentioned, it seems like they're on tank mode, and again, they have Mariota, but I think they should go with Malik Willis in the draft.
I would say, James, I would go with Matt Corral. I think Matt Corral could be really good for the Falcons in a way. Like, I think that he's gonna fit Arthur Smith's system, and even though he had that leg injury, I think that Matt Corral has what it takes to be a really good quarterback in the league.
Yeah, that leg injury, he's gonna go down to like 3rd round or 4th round. So, nah.
I'm gonna go to you, John, on this. What's your takeaways on what's your thoughts on Mariota being a Atlanta Falcon, and what is your thoughts on what's next for the Falcons at quarterback? I have them drafting a quarterback this year just because I think that it's time to find Matt Ryan's successor right away.
Well, it's about time. I mean, after 2 or 3 years after that Super Bowl, they should have done it already. I mean, the fact is, first of all, no, Laura, they're not going to draft a guy with a leg injury because that's a huge concern. And especially a guy with a huge injury, no team is going to take a guy that high because, most likely risk over reward. And the thing is, quarterbacks get better faster. There's more therapy now. So if he's going to a team like Atlanta, let's think about what happens with Kyle Pitts in a couple years. Let's look at what happens with their other draft picks. You look at what happened with Tampa Bay. They're going to be, as long as Tom Brady is there in the next, let's say 2 to 3 years, I mean, you're going to have to draft a quarterback. But I don't think you get a guy with a leg injury just because, I mean, if you have that same concern, I think with Mariota, that's a problem now. I would love like a C.J. Stroud or the Bryce Young, because it would be interesting for him to throw that deep ball to Kyle Pitts and get that with Cordell Patterson there. If he can stay there, that would be very good in terms of like special teams and make RPOs or I don't know. But this really means nothing. Mariota's career has taken off a cliff so quickly. I remember his rookie year where they were debating on they took to like June or July to sign his rookie contract just because they've had such issues at the quarterback position. He had one good year. He nearly threw an interception to himself, and they had a playoff win in 2017. So just like you all said, he's just a bridge quarterback. He's not going to be a starting quarterback anymore. Just like we had the issue with that starting quarterback in the draft is that leg injury. And I think with what Panthers are doing, they have to win now. So if they don't win, they get a new head coach. They're rebuilding. You go to the Falcons. They're going to be massive monkey diarrhea for the next 4 to 5 plus years. Saints, they re-signed Winston, so either he's your guy, let's say he works out. Tampa Bay got Tom Brady back again 40 days later. Then you're really kind of screwed in terms of trying to do anything in the next couple of years.
Absolutely, John. You mean you hit it right on there. But anyways, now with that being said here, the Saints filled their quarterback void by inking Jameis Winston to a 2-year deal worth $28 million. I mean, that if you look at it here, I think that Jameis Winston has another opportunity to redeem himself, which I think he will. I mean, he was having a really good comeback season until the injury. I believe in second chances, and I do think that Jameis Winston can get it done. But is he the guy for the Saints long term? I don't think so. I do think that he's kind of a stopgap kind of guy, bridge gap. And then I think he's only the starting quarterback this season. And I think by next season, the Saints will have a new quarterback because this next year's draft class of rookie quarterbacks is going to be really good. And I'm looking forward to next year's rookie class. But this year's rookie class is not really that great. But I think that I have I think that Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis, to me, are right now the best quarterbacks in that class. And Isaiah, I'm going to start with you. What's your thoughts on Jameis Winston being a Saint again?
My reaction to it was, damn it, man, why? This was the place where Jimmy Garoppolo was supposed to go. Now Jimmy G has basically nowhere to go unless Carolina decides, oh, we're gonna take him on and have him quarterback. So John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan overplayed their hands, and now they wanted a first-round pick. I believe they had an offer for 2 second-round picks. John Lynch wanted more, and now that most likely you're going to have to release him. So this was a massive, epic fail by the 49ers and their front office and their coaching staff. But going to the Saints, I'm happy for Jameis. I liked watching Jameis play before the injury. I thought he actually improved as a quarterback before the injury. It was unfortunate that he got hurt, but he gets another opportunity to prove himself. And unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be the franchise quarterback for the Saints. I think they're going to draft one, but he fills the gap until they get that quarterback in, whether it's Pickett or whether it's Wills or whether it's a late round pick like a Brock Purdy, who knows. He fills in the gap nicely, and he can help mentor and develop whoever they draft as a rookie quarterback, and that rookie doesn't have to play right away.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, talk about learning from getting a rookie to kind of learn behind Jameis. That's a good move, I think, for the Saints, but I do expect him to start week 1. James, what is your thoughts on Jameis Winston coming back to the Saints on a 2-year deal?
It don't really matter. Saints really are in shambles right now. Michael Thomas, I don't think he wants to be there, honestly. They got to figure that situation out. Then you have Alvin Kamara's situation where he might be suspended. Probably 8 or more games. So there goes your 2 best playmakers. And just left with who you have. And that doesn't seem to be successful whatsoever. Jameis probably going to struggle. The Saints are going to struggle. I think their high point is on defense, honestly. It's good for Jameis Winston, has some stability being there with the Saints for another 2 years or however long it may be. I'm just hoping he goes off and he does well. But right now it looks like on the Saints he's not throwing to some great players, average players right now. He might struggle with the Saints, but I hope he keeps his confidence up. I hope that he comes back from his injury well and he shows a little something. He's one of those bad luck guys that continue to go into bad situations. And the Saints seem like a bad situation right now. It seems like all these quarterbacks we've been talking about, they're just either in bad situations or like Matt Ryan get out of one. But it shows that, if you don't have a great quarterback and great talent around him, you're nothing.
What about you, John? What was your thoughts on Jameis Winston coming back to the Saints?
I liked it. Now I'm not even sure whoever their current head coach is going to be there in 3 to 4 years, because it is a full blown, the most painful rebuild. We said it with Atlanta, but this team specifically, with how many cap adjustments you've had to make. Cameron Jordan's going to retire in a couple years. You don't know the situation with Alvin Kamara. Even when he comes back, is he can be fully 100%. Michael Thomas and his Kim Kardashian drama, who knows where he's going to be, if he's even going to be in the NFL or on the Saints next year, because I'm surprised they haven't traded him already. Even though if I'm a team with all that stuff being posted and all the drama, I wouldn't want to trade for him either, because there's also uncertainty if he's going to wanting to play there. But, it's good, but I think now Winston is in a terrible situation. Either it doesn't work out, and maybe he goes to Carolina with Robbie. I'm just throwing hypotheticals out there, but I think if you're the Saints, you don't know what this rebuild is going to look like. It's not clear cut. We've seen teams rebuild. They have like 20, 30 million, give or take. The Saints literally have no money. And if you have to recap every situation and whatever you do with Taysom Hill, it's gonna suck. And then in a year or two, you're gonna have to pay your offensive line guy you drafted first round in 2020. So either your rebuild continues to succeed or you're continuing to hash the cap hit and then hopefully trying to have a quote unquote successful rebuild.
Anyways, folks, with that being said, we have a question for everybody, and then we're going to answer it for you all. Who's under pressure to prove themselves next season? Last year was Derek Carr, and he really proved himself last season. And I do think that the Raiders still have a long-term future with Derek Carr at quarterback. Now, when he took the Raiders, when he got to play in his first playoff game in his career, I'm going to go with my guy, Tua Tagovailoa. I think that when he's healthy, he's really good, and I still have a lot of confidence in Tua Tagovailoa being the franchise quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. Although people don't agree with me on it, my confidence in Tua is still very high, and I think that the Dolphins need a long-term quarterback. Ryan Tannehill was good, but didn't work out after a certain number of years. But my confidence level in Tua is still very high, and I'm still confident in Tua that I think that he is still the quarterback of the future of the Miami Dolphins. I know John doesn't agree with me on it. I mean, sometimes my takes could be
show otherwise, but okay.
So John might not agree with me, but I think that Tua has more to prove him. I think Tua Tagovailoa is under pressure to prove himself next season. I mean, he's a good quarterback. He's led to the Dolphins to 2 straight winning seasons. I do think that a leap of faith is coming for Tua Tagovailoa. Isaiah, I'm going to go to you on this. I'm actually going to go to John first on this one. Who's under pressure to prove himself next season? Derek Carr or Tua Tagovailoa?
I would say, obviously, I think Tua's a bond. I don't think he'll do anything. But I truly think, I'm not trying to pile on James. I think it is Derek Carr. I think at some point you talked about his disappointing playoff game, and obviously I want to thank the entire Raiders organization and James and Sel for giving our team that win. So I want to truly appreciate that. That was a great late Christmas gift. I truly appreciate that, James, and all the Raiders fans. But I definitely think it's going to be Derek Carr, because at some point, if it doesn't click with Davante Adams this year, obviously there's career narratives about Davante. We're not talking about that. We're talking about Derek Carr. If him and Davante Adams do not connect in the first 7 to 8 weeks, I think Derek Carr is out, because you see what Denver did with Russell Wilson. They traded for him a Super Bowl winning Pro Bowl All-Pro quarterback. You have, obviously, what the Chiefs are doing. The Chargers are literally making us, Cardi B said, they're making money moves. And then now you have the Raiders. I'm just not too sure. Like, if you look, I have to see Derek Carr's, I think, current contract. But I believe in so after this season, he's a free agent. Mm-hmm. So he's going to have to prove either they're going to flip the bill and pay him fat contract, because we know the market for running backs and quarterbacks is beyond the roof. But it's going to be for Derek Carr, because at least with Tua, you still have a year or two in his rookie contract, regardless of what I think. But Derek Carr, is he going to play in Vegas next year? I think that's going to be a huge question throughout this next season.
What about you, James? I'm going to go next on you in this one. Who's under pressure to prove himself next season, Derek Carr or Tua Tagovailoa? You know my pick is my guy, Tua.
Yeah, no, but more pressure we're talking about. And that has to be the quarterback going into his 9th year. That's Derek Carr. First of all, in a better position than the Dolphins could be in with getting Davante Adams. But more pressure is on Carr, because it seems like the fan base of the Raiders is always divided on him. Even when he does well, there's still some talk on him where, okay, he's not probably the guy going forward. It's 50-50. There's sometimes where he could be great, and then sometimes where the stats really don't matter, but the wins do, of course, with Derek Carr. So just the pressure being in the AFC West, how stacked it is now, like John mentioned, that's more pressure than the AFC East has, honestly. The thing with Tua, the backup that they have now there with Teddy Bridgewater, that's a little cushion there, and I hope it makes him play even better than what he has done. Yes, he's led him to winning seasons, but not to the playoffs. So that's got to be the next step for the whole Miami Dolphins team. And bringing in the new head coach that they did, it's going to be interesting to see how he fits around this offense. Hopefully he does well. I know that, he's your guy, Loro, and all that, and I hope he does well. But in this instance, in this question, Derek Carr is under more pressure because of his contract. Tua's only been around 3 years. Derek Carr is going to his 9th season and a free agent year. So it's a real put up or shut up year for Derek Carr, and he has weapons now that he really never had before. You could say, with Crabtree and Cooper and Latavius Murray, okay, that was a great trio there of weapons. But now you got Waller and Jacobs, Adams and Renfro. So it's great. It's great to say that. But the pressure, though, is on Derek Carr way more than Tua, just because the Dolphins aren't really slated to do as well as the Raiders. That's just what I think.
I'm going to go to Isaiah next. Who's more under pressure to prove himself next season? Is it my guy Tua or is it Derek Carr?
The obvious answer is probably Derek Carr, and James and John made some excellent points on that. But you guys know me. I'm not a guy that goes with the obvious answer, even if the obvious answer is right there.
That's an answer, all right.
Right there in my face. So I'm actually going to do something that I haven't really done a lot of, and that is agree with Loro on a Tua take. For me, I think it's Tua that's under the most pressure because Derek Carr, he's made the playoffs. Tua, he has a new head coach and Mike McDaniel. You guys know when you have a new head coach who has a quarterback already there, that it's basically a one-year trial run. If that coach likes the quarterback fit with the offense and likes working with them and it's a great fit, then he'll keep him. But if, it doesn't work out, if McDaniel doesn't determine that, or he determines that it's not a great fit for his scheme and, he wants another guy. Remember, guys, next year's quarterback class is loaded from top to bottom. So Miami could easily just say, okay, Tua, he's more of a game manager. He's not like the worst quarterback in the league, but he's not the greatest quarterback in the league. And they could just be like, oh, okay, we'll just move on. We'll trade him or cut him, and we'll just get someone else from the draft because, it's not going to be the first 3 picks in the NFL draft next year. Like, their quarterbacks are going to be great and the rest are going to be garbage. It's going to be top to bottom, a really deep and really good class. So you could find quarterbacks late in the first round. So I think that for me, Tua's under the most pressure to perform, since if he doesn't perform well, then McDaniels is going to move on from him and he's going to go and replace him with a rookie that he's more comfortable with. So that's why this trial run has to go not good. It has to go great for Tua Tagovailoa.
I do like either CJ Stroud or Bryce Young in Miami if it doesn't work out with Tua. I think Bryce Young is that typical quarterback that Miami is looking for. I think if you're an organization and you bring in a new head coach, you kind of side a little bit with the new head coach outside of your Freddie Kitchens because, hey, he's your guy. Let's see what type of offense he wants. And if he didn't feel that way, then, well, some of us may feel a certain way, and that's fine. But I definitely think it'd be interesting for Bryce Young or CJ Stroud and in Miami if it doesn't work out with Tua.
Anyway, so go back to our comment section. Is that Casey King? We're going to pull up his comment right now. As he says, Derek Carr, as he's getting pieces around him, that's who he has the most under pressure heading into this upcoming season and needs to win a playoff game. He did well last year, but it's now time to go farther. As we have that comment just pulled up right here from our guy Casey King. He tried to join our show, but he was dealing with some echo issues and all that. But anyways, the Lakers and LeBron James go absolutely bonkers in the fourth quarter in his return to Cleveland. And Russ Westbrook and DJ Augustine added 20 points to help the Lakers roll past the Cleveland Cavaliers and win their second of their last 3 games. Isaiah, I'm going to start with you on this. What's your thoughts on the Lakers 131-120 win? And do you think that this is a start for the Lakers to start getting hot right now?
Well, I'm not going to say that it's a start just because there's been many instances where we said that, oh my God, this could be a start. This could be the turning point. And the Lakers just let us down and lose like 5 out of their next 7 games. So I'm not going to go that far. I'm going to say this. I watched the game from start to finish, and there's something different about the Lakers team that we've seen the last 3 days or 3 games as opposed to what we've saw the rest or the first the first part of this season prior to the last 3 games. There's something different about the last 3 games. The energy is much better. The effort is much better. They're showing heart. I mean, they're diving for loose balls. Reeves, Monk, everybody, not even just the young guys, but the veterans are diving for loose balls as well. And I think that right now, when you look at it, Frank Vogel, if you look at what he's done the last 3 games, even though the Lakers lost to Washington and they blew a 16-point lead, but it was still a close game, is the fact that he's played more of the younger players, like Reeves, like Wenyen Gabriel, like Monk, like Johnson. And I think the veterans, by them seeing that, it's fed to them too. It's fed to them that, hey, these guys are hustling. These guys are giving energy. These guys are giving them all. These guys are giving it like, this is game 7 of the NBA Finals. We got to show that effort or else we're not going to play. I mean, the young guys have already taken our spot. So it was great to see the Lakers do what they did today. LeBron was outstanding in the game, especially in that fourth quarter. I mean, just jacking up shots that literally nobody besides him on planet Earth could have hit those type of shots. But I think it was Westbrook stepping up. I mean, Westbrook's been more controlled the last 3 games, which has been great to see. Reeves was tremendous, especially on defense. And also, how about DJ Augustine, man? I mean, this dude, everybody was like, this dude is washed. This dude should be out of the league. He comes in. He looks like Steph Curry out there. I mean, he goes like 6 of 6 from 3-point land, and you're like, who is this guy? Like, why can't this dude do this on a consistent basis? But, man, those young guys are stepping up. And Vogel should have done this early in the year, and that is bench the veterans, bench your Dwight Howards, bench your Arizas, bench your Ellingtons, bench your Bazemores of the world, and play the young guys because they're the ones that's giving energy. They're the ones that's giving effort. They're the ones that's giving the heart, and now you're seeing the result. You've won 2 out of 3. I know it's, oh, my God, it's not time to say the Lakers are back just yet, but it's a great start. It's a great start. To see, and it's been much improved. The Lakers have had instances where it's one game they play like this, where they give all their heart, all their hustle, all their energy, give great energy, and then the next 4 games they just play like crap. But the last 3 games, I've seen a much better energy from the Lakers, and there's something different about the last 3 games from this team. I'll give you that, and maybe it's this team activating playoff mode. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe that's what I've noticed. That's what these Lakers.
What about you, James? What is your overall thoughts on the Lakers' win over the Cleveland Cavaliers and LeBron's homecoming?
This is gonna sound stupid, kind of, but it was a tale of 4 quarters. Cleveland won the first, LA won the second, Cleveland won the third, but LA won the most important quarter, which was the fourth. LeBron always coming back to Cleveland there, always wants to do well, and he did that tonight with the triple-double, 38 points, 12 assists, 11 rebounds. Westbrook with 20, Stanley Johnson and Monk with 12 and Reeves with 11. But yeah, I'm very happy about DJ Augustine because he was bouncing around the league, from Orlando, before that Charlotte, wherever else he was. And it's good to see him get some run. There's these veterans coming in off the G League or off the street coming on and playing this year because of COVID. But this time he just found a place, hopefully to play and hopefully in the play-in. And I like what Isaiah mentioned because with Carmelo only playing 14 minutes, he had 5 rebounds and 5 points. It's good maybe for him and Dwight Howard to take a step back and let those young guys play. And I think also LeBron probably gave everybody a speech, hey, don't let me look bad in my hometown. And I think they really showed that tonight. For John's Cavaliers, it was going to be tough without Jared Allen, missing him the whole rest of the season. Darius Garland had big 29 points, Markkanen 18, Stevens 16, Mobley 13. I think if he would have done more, they probably would have had the game a little closer. LeVert with 13 off the bench, Carl with 12. LeVert's going to have to really step up for the Cavs, missing that Allen scoring, but the defense as well and the blocking. That'll have to come up with Mobley having to do way more of that, way more of what you're asking the rookie to do. So I think it was a good win for the Lakers, a good win for LeBron not to embarrass himself in his hometown.
I'm going to go to John next on this. And what's your thoughts on your Cavaliers losing to the Lakers in LeBron's homecoming?
Unlike first of all, I don't know why you're laughing when you said this Lakers team will have 70 wins and then literally have 45 losses. So I don't know where the laughing's coming from, considering y'all aren't even going to make the playoffs, much less the play-in tournament. But I mean, congrats to LeBron. I mean, LeBron, there's always been rumors of him coming back to Cleveland, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, I give the Lakers full credit. But the fact is, at the end of the day, they're not making the playoffs. They're not making the play-in tournament. This is just to get some good stories in there towards the end of the year. But they're not making the playoffs. That's absolutely delusional.
Yeah, John, by the way, the Lakers are playing. They don't deserve to not only make the playoffs, they don't deserve to be in that play-in tournament. By the way, they're playing right now.
But exactly, it's about consistency, and they haven't done that all year. And I tried to tell people, Westbrook, LeBron, it's not going to get to the finals. It's not going to get to the second, third round. And some people thought I was crazy, but turns out having a cast of the Golden Girls on your roster doesn't equate a championship.
Now, that being said, Tyrese Maxey came up big for the Philadelphia 76ers, dropping 28 of his 28 points in the second half to help the Sixers drop. Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat 113-106. Isaiah, thoughts on this game? And I'll tell you, the Philadelphia 76ers, they are getting hot. They're playing really good basketball lately, and I'll tell you what, this is a better team without Ben Simmons.
This reaffirms what I've said ever since the James Harden trade was made. The Philadelphia 76ers, not only are they a better team without Ben Simmons, but I think they're going to the NBA Finals. I've said this on numerous occasions. You got your Harden and Embiid duo. I mean, they look like the second coming of Kobe and Shaq out there with the deadly.
Whoa, no.
Yes. I'm gonna say they look like the second coming of Kobe and Shaq. And
no, they had a three-peat. Stop it.
Hey, I'm not saying in terms of championships. I'm saying in terms of talent-wise, they look like the second coming of Kobe and Shaq as John leaves for the night. Goodbye, John, and hopefully you have a great night. But Tyrese Maxey is out there. I mean, he's a great part of their supporting cast. He's looking like, a third star that they have there in Philadelphia. Plus, you have your Danny Greens. You have your Paul Millsap, who is a very underrated addition to the Philadelphia 76ers. You have all these pieces, and now to complement your superstars. And I know Doc Rivers, everybody gives him flack for his, bad coaching and choking in the playoffs, but I'd rather have Doc Rivers than what's his name than Frank Vogel, to be honest. So I like Philadelphia. I like Philadelphia. Philadelphia, they're going to go deep in the playoffs. You can mark my words on it. Miami, they're going to be there in the end. I think this was a preview of the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't think this is an indictment on both of these or on any of those two teams. Miami just got unlucky towards the end. They missed a few shots, and in these games, whoever knocks down the clutch shots are going to win the basketball game. And Philadelphia did it, Miami didn't, and that was the result.
What about you, James? What's your thoughts on the Philadelphia 76ers beating the Miami Heat?
To beat Miami without Harden and Embiid, that's just amazing. I was surprised. I saw this game, Maxey, like he did before, and we did a show after. He had a crazy fourth quarter. He's done this before, so he's got some clutch genes in him. Niang had 15, Harris with 14, Shake Milton with 20, Koromaz with 18. They have an abundance of three-point shooters, even with trading Seth Curry. They still have some great shooters, just the ball has to go in. And what I kind of liked about the game today, without Harden, without Embiid, the ball kind of moved around more. It wasn't so much of an ISO game until Maxey needed to. This is more about Miami losing this game. I know Jimmy Butler at 27, Lowry coming back home at 20, Bama Adebayo with 22, Martin 14, Hero with 10. I think PJ Tucker only having 2 points didn't help. Robinson only having 2 threes with 6 points. But when you have Hero only scoring 10 and he's supposed to be your sixth man, that's kind of a letdown, especially when you lose to a team that doesn't have their best 2 players. That's a real letdown for Miami. And I love this matchup. I hope this is a playoff matchup. I know, everybody wants to see the Bucks or whomever else, but I think if these two met up like in the second round, it would be awesome. So, but kudos to Philly's other guys that don't get mentioned, other from Harden and Embiid, to win without those two guys over the Eastern Conference powerhouse. That was awesome by the Sixers tonight.
Now that being said here, Luka Doncic and the Mavs edge out Karl Anthony Towns and the Wolves in an extremely close back and forth affair by 110 to 108. James, I think that the Mavs and the T-Wolves, they're both teams that people shouldn't even sleep on come playoff time.
We'll see when we get there. I still think they're too young, but the talent is there for both. And then they both have, I don't know about leadership on Dallas, but they have that on Minnesota. Yeah, I saw this game as well. Great back and forth matchup, even though the Timberwolves kind of fell off at the end there. They tried to come back, but the Mavericks came up clutch at the end. Towns only had 22, but he had some crazy slam dunks tonight. Edwards, 19, Russell with 18. And then, what guy I'm really happy for is Taurean Prince. He's trying to find his way in the NBA, and he had 17 tonight, and I think he found a home in Minnesota. If you recall, he's the guy at the press conference at the March Madness. He was playing with Baylor, saying, what's a rebound? And he gave a good definition to a reporter who's trying to be a smart aleck. With the Mavericks, with Doncic only scoring 15, Dwight Powell inside was cleaning up the glass, and he had 22. Finney Smith with 18. Reggie Bullock had a great night outside with the three-pointers. He had 18 points. Dinwiddie with 20. Brunson with 15. So it's really good. Even though Kleber didn't score much 3 points, it shows how deep Dallas can be. And like you mentioned with the playoff time, it's good to have a deep squad there. Minnesota maybe not as deep, not as experienced, but if you're looking right now at a potential, great playoff team of these two, I would have to say Dallas, because not only do you have Luka, But you can see, even though he had an off night, off night is a double-double, 15 and 10. He usually averages, 24, 25 a game. But the other guy stepped up. Finney Smith had 15. So I really like what Dallas did, but they were able just to hang on by 2 tonight over Minnesota.
Anyways, I'm going to go to Isaiah Leung here. And what's your thoughts on Luka and the Mavs edging out Karl Anthony Towns and the Wolves in an extremely close back and forth affair, 110 to 108?
I think that this was the win of the year from the Dallas Mavericks. This was probably the most impressive win that they've had thus far, because when you look at it, normally when Luka Doncic, you look on the box score and Luka Doncic only has 15 points, you're thinking in your mind that, yeah, Dallas lost that game. There's no way Luka doesn't score 20-plus points that they win. There's no way. And not only did Luka only have 15 points, but he only had like 10 assists for the Dallas Mavericks, only 6 rebounds in 38 minutes of play. Like, he was not really that effective tonight. And I think most of it had to do with Patrick Beverley guarding him a lot on the defensive end. And for the Mavericks, like James mentioned, they're super deep. Reggie Bullock stepped up with 18 points. Dorian Finney-Smith, he had 15 points. Dwight Powell, 22 points, 8 rebounds. Spencer Dinwiddie, I mean, I love him coming off the bench. He's been an absolute monster with Dallas. He had 20 points and 8 assists in 28 minutes of play. So Dallas is very, very deep, extremely deep. And I think that, the Mavs, that depth is definitely going to help them come playoff time as they go deep into the Western Conference playoffs. But tremendous win by Dallas. Really impressive.
Absolutely. But anyways, from one rising star to another, Celtics star Jason Tatum continued his torrent second half by scoring 36 points, and the Celtics win over OKC. Tatum had 36 points, 30 points, 32 points, 26 points, 31 points, 44 points, 54 points, 37 points, and 33 points in his last 10 games, and Boston is 9-1 in those games. Should Jason Tatum be in the MVP discussion? Given his play from late December and all the way now, absolutely. He's got to be in the top 3 in the MVP discussion, Isaiah.
He should not only be in the mix, he should honestly win it, in my opinion. Because right now, when you look at Jason Tatum, he's doing things that you haven't seen from people since, the early 2000s? I mean, this dude is going off. 30-plus points a game every single night. You have had like so many 40-point, even 50-point games for the Celtics. And the Celtics were, a lot of people, including myself and Loro, we didn't even pick the Celtics to make the playoffs. We picked them to be in the play-in game, but we didn't pick them to make the playoffs. And they started out really, really bad this season. And when you look at where the Celtics went from there all the way until now, the big part of it is Jason Tatum. It's been Jason Tatum putting the Boston Celtics on his back and leading them to right now 4th in the Eastern Conference. It's been super impressive what Tatum has done for the Celtics. I think it's honestly the most impressive thing thus far in the NBA. I know you have your LeBrons, you have your Ja Morants, but right now, if we're going to go with MVP, I think Jason Tatum not only deserves to be in the conversation. First of all, if he's not in the conversation, then like cancel the vote, because that's absolutely ludicrous. But he should not only be in the mix, he should win it. He should be the front runner to win MVP right now with the numbers that he's putting up. And also, they're winning. They're winning right now, which is a big, big part of the success for the Boston Celtics. So yeah, he's definitely has to be in the mix.
He definitely does have to be in the mix. And James, what is your thoughts on Jason Tatum's dominant game here? I mean, he's had really good games here, and he scored 36 points in the win tonight over the Celtics, over the Thunder, I mean.
Yeah, let me make a point real quick about Luka only scoring 15. He had Beverly on him, so that's why he didn't score as much. For those who are interested to know, he could be a pest. And the thing with the Celtics, yeah, Tatum's doing it all, and then you got Jaylen Brown keeping up with him in the score box, and Grant Williams with 20, and Derek White with 18, Pritchard with 18. It comes down to what Beverly does for Minnesota, and this is defense for the Celtics. They just have to be a little bit better on defense. They gave up 123 tonight to Oklahoma City. You know, they just need to square up their defense. I think when it comes to playoff time, if Tatum's doing his thing, that's great, but you got to stop the other team from having their little runs. You saw tonight, who was it? Shea Gilgeous-Alexander had 31. Trey Mann, who's coming on strong for Rookie of the Year, had 35. And then Baisley had 22. So they had 4 guys in double figures, but really high scoring for the Thunder. But it's just one of those games, I guess, for the Celtics where you can get away with it as long as you overscore the other team. So that's only my concern with the Celtics going as far as they can. But Tatum, he's doing what his idol did, and that was Kobe, where he scored 30 plus in all these games. You know, he's becoming a threat. And my MVP right now, my race, you know, it's tough because mine would be Embiid, Jokic, and then Tatum. And yeah, it's really hard to find anybody else. Maybe John Morant, but I think Tatum knocked him out from the top 3.
Anyways, moving on from the basketball court to the baseball diamond, as you may call here, a letter detailing a 2017 investigation into the New York Yankees will become a public document 2 years after a federal judge ruled it should be unleashed. Plaintiffs a lawsuit over a daily fantasy ramifications of the electronic signs stealing in baseball alleged that a 2017 news release from Commissioner Rob Manfred hid the full findings of what MLB discovered the Yankees had done. The letter's impending release will reveal any differences between what Manfred said public about his feelings and what was revealed in private. And Isaiah, what is your overall reaction to this?
My overall reaction to this is that if you thought that we had a lot of chaos in baseball the last couple of months, the last couple of weeks, the last year or two, buckle up, because this could potentially be chaos of epic proportions that we haven't seen across baseball. And this could potentially impact not only just the Yankees, but it could impact several other organizations as well, given that this was written, 2017, right? 2017, before the whole Astros thing. So here's the thing. Rob Manfred should be scared because, you know, he could potentially lose his commissioner gig if what's in this secret letter is different than what he's spoken about in public, and what they found was even worse than what was being reported. The Yankees should definitely be scared. And that's why the Yankees have been pushing MLB and pushing the courts to not let them seal the letter. Because, and here's the thing, if you're not guilty of anything, and if there's something that you're not hiding, then why do you not want the people to see that letter? What's so secretive about that letter that you don't want them to see? So that means that there could be way more stuff, way worse stuff about the Yankees cheating that we never knew about in this letter, so the Yankees could be screwed. And also, who was the manager of the New York Yankees in 2017?
Joe Girardi.
Yep. If there's anything against Joe Girardi in this letter, Joe Girardi could be suspended, like Alex Cora, like AJ Hinch, like all the other guys that was implicated in this scandal, and he could lose his job. So this could not only affect people in baseball, but it could also, and the Yankees, but it could also affect a lot of people in other organizations, like a Girardi, who could potentially lose his gig with the Phillies before the season even gets started. So buckle up, folks. We are in for a wild, wild ride.
I don't think Joe Girardi's going to lose his job by any means, Isaiah. I mean, here we go again with all the sign stealing stuff. The Astros have been mainly accused of this, and now the Yankees are going to be accused of this as well.
Maybe, because here's the thing, and I've been asking people this. The Yankees were pushing so hard for this letter never to be open. Why is that? If you're pushing for this letter never to be open, that means there's something big time. There's a big time bomb in there that you want to hide. And who knows? Once this letter opens, I guarantee you all hell might break loose because of what's in it. If you think the Astros thing was bad, think about what if the Yankees get caught cheating? Then what are you going to do? Like, there's going to be a lot of stuff that goes on. This is only the tip of the iceberg, fellas.
Oh my gosh, this is definitely something to be talked about with your friends and family about this. And you better be buckled up for all this chaotic baseball news now that the Yankees could be in under investigation on this sign stealing scandal. James, what's your overall thoughts on this? Are the Yankees kind of like the Astros 2.0 in this latest development on this newest scandal in baseball?
It seems like the MLB can't get out of its own way. We had like a good, 2 weeks of labor peace and spring training games and everything was hunky-dory, and now, boom, this might be a potential for just an awful time for MLB. It already is with the commissioner. It seems like he was kind of covering up whatever the Yankees are accused of by these DraftKings users. I know the users sued MLB and the Red Sox and the Astros for the sign stealing scandals. The integrity of their bets was ruined, but not the Yankees. But I really want to see the evidence from the Yankees here. Basically, I think with them not wanting the letter to come out, they're guilty by association, honestly. And it's a bad look for Rob Manfred already. He's had so many bad looks. He called the World Series trophy just a piece of metal. And I know for Dodger fans, that really made you mad, Loro, I'm guessing. Just to call the trophy a hunk of metal that doesn't matter. Well, it matters to, the opponents that the Astros played. It mattered to everyone. And now you have this where, the Yankees were benefiting from, possible signs being still stolen and all this. And it just seems like the team's reputation will be damaged. The Yankees would be, if all this comes out. And I know in court they're going to try to keep it out. But this might make Rob Manfred look really awful, and to the point where I hope the owners get together and they say, hey, we can't have this guy. I know, he's on our side with the money and all that, but he's making all of us look bad and the league look bad. So I know the judge mentioned he's seen the letter, the judge in this case, and he's mentioned there's no reason to keep it sealed. The content's already public knowledge. So the fact that the Yankees did cheat is there, but that's not shown. But the Red Sox and Astros, the Apple Watch issue, and then the whole bang of the Astros issues, those are already out. So now we just got to catch the Yankees and the commissioner covering up for New York. And hopefully that does come out. I know it's going to be a stain on MLB, but something has to give right here. And I hope, the evidence comes out that the Yankees are guilty of things and the commissioner is, and swift action can be made on both.
Anyways, with that being said here, folks, now from that, and now let's rank our top 5 starting pitchers. I'm going to go first with my list. It's right in front of me. Max Scherzer is number 1 on my list, along with Jacob deGrom. Number 2. Number 3 is Garrett Cole. Number 4 is Corbin Burns. And to round out my top 5 starting pitcher list, it's Walker Buehler. Number 5 from my Los Angeles Dodgers. What about you, Isaiah? What's your top 5 starting pitcher list?
I took literally an hour to make this list because I looked at all the pitchers. There's so much. You can make a case for this guy to be in the top 5, this guy to be in the top 5. Like, there's just so many great pitchers in the game of Major League Baseball. But I came up with my list. For me, I got to go, and this might be like a really, really bold, or let's go 5-1. All right, let's go 5-1 to start. For me, I'm going to go Jacob deGrom, number 5, and here's why. He's got the talent of one of the best starting pitchers in the game, but can he stay healthy? That's the big question. And like they always say, your best ability is your availability, and deGrom just hasn't been able to stay healthy. It's like every season you can count on him to miss a portion of the season because he's hurt. So I got to put him as number 5 on my list. Number 4 on my list, I'm going to go with a guy that I don't think a lot of people really have talked about, and that is Shane Bieber of the Cleveland Guardians. I mean, this guy is a tremendous pitcher. He strikes out a lot of batters throughout his time with the Indians as a starter. Number 3 on the list, I know he doesn't use sticky tack anymore, but I got to still give it to him. That's Garrett Cole. I am worried a bit, though, because after sticky tack, he was not so good. But he does have velocity. He's got the nasty pitches. He racks up a lot of strikeouts, and he's just dominant when you need him to be dominant. And he's a workhorse, too. Like, he can go 9 innings for you, and that's an easy task for Garrett Cole. So he's number 3. For me, number 2 is going to be a shocker to you guys. Zach Wheeler. And I saw what he did with the Phils last year. Zach Wheeler dominated, man. The guy pitched over 140-plus innings. He was tremendous. He was one of the Phillies' best pitchers when they needed him to go 7 innings. And the last start, he threw like over 130 pitches. He said, oh, no problem. I'll go 140 pitches and pitch a complete game. So he's just tremendous. He's got the stuff. He's a workhorse. He's a guy that is nasty as well, racks up the strikeouts. He's durable. Hopefully I didn't just jinx that right there. And then you have breaking news, Zach Wheeler is Tommy John. Hopefully I didn't just jinx that, but he's my number 2. Number 1, it's easy. Max Scherzer of the New York Mets. Tremendous repertoire. He's very durable. The guy is still pitching at a high level, even in his late 30s. You got to give it to him. He's the best pitcher in Major League Baseball.
What about you, James? What is your top 5 starting pitcher list?
It's very tough. I didn't take an hour on it. I just Googled stuff and put it together. There was a couple of guys I left off, and I'm kind of regretting it, honestly, because Robbie Ray, he's really underrated. And now with him going in my division, I'm not looking forward to that. Zach Wheeler, it seems like Aaron Nola gets the notoriety in Philadelphia, so Zach Wheeler's kind of left off people's list, but I like that Isaiah had him in there. You can add other folks in there too, Shane Bieber, but Brandon Woodruff as well. But I do have a Brewer in there. But number 5, I guess Jacob deGrom, just because of injuries. Just like Isaiah mentioned, I really love his stuff. And he was a gamer. He got hurt after July 7th. He wasn't back. So he's got the elbow trouble. But even without the sticky stuff, he was doing pretty well until he got hurt. He only pitched 92 innings last year. And I really wanted him to have a full season so we can see how great he will be. Number 4, I have Garrett Cole. I just felt like without that sticky stuff, he didn't do as well. And the real Garrett Cole came out. And it's unfortunate for him, but there's other reasons I don't like him as well. But Number 3, Corbin Burns, I think, for me, in Milwaukee. He's becoming that ace for them along with Woodruff. He's a really good pitcher, and they got something for the future there in Milwaukee. He's got ace stuff. He's going to be great. Number 2 is Walker Buehler. I mean, this dude, he's young. He's got movement on the fastball. He's got everything you need. And I cringe for the other teams that have to face him. And he's a really great pitcher, and he's still young. He's taken over that ace spot for LA from Clayton Kershaw. Hopefully you learned a little stuff from Clayton Kershaw, but you got somebody there for years that's going to be up. My number 1 is Max Scherzer, just like Isaiah. He's an absolute gamer, even at his age, but he got paid like he's an ace, like he's the number 1 pitcher with New York. I just hope the Mets don't screw him up. The dude's an absolute gamer. Hates leaving games and outings. I really love Max Scherzer, and I just wish the Angels had him, but he's Mad Max. He's awesome. He's everything you want a pitcher to be. He's old school, and I hope he thrives in Queens.
Oh, I think he's going to thrive in Queens. You're absolutely right about that. But, folks, it's a great show. I mean, it's time for some final thoughts. Next Wild Sports Talk Show will be on Friday night. Be sure to tune in for that. And, James, what are your final thoughts?
Great show as always. Happy to have John and Casey in and Isaiah. It's just amazing. As I really get back to the MLB thing with the Yankees, it's just amazing how, teams in the New York area kind of get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to the sports leagues. And it's just terrible to see that continue unless this evidence comes out for the Yankees. And I hope it does, because it shows favoritism, and I hate that when certain teams get the benefit of the doubt on calls and on games. I just want more fairness, honestly, and I want other people to thrive for once. I think the world is going like that, where we're seeing downtrodden people, finally get their due. And I really want MLB to improve what they're doing, mainly fire Rob Manfred for once and for all, but we'll see what happens. But like I mentioned earlier, it just seems like MLB can have a couple of good weeks, and then some bombshell's going to happen in the news, really destroying the game.
Absolutely. Anyways, for James Gonzalez, Isaiah Leong, John Alcorn, Loro signing off for now. Have a great rest of your night, everyone, and we'll talk to you again Friday for a new episode of Wild Sports Talk.